Hello everyone, welcome back to 3 News Now with your afternoon update. I'm Stephanie Haney. Today is Tuesday, May 12th. We've just got the new numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health related to how COVID-19 is progressing here in the state of Ohio. So we'll go ahead and give you those numbers now, and then we'll break down how those numbers compare to the past few days and see if there's any kind of a trend that's beginning to emerge. Now, keep in mind when we talk about a trend, health experts here in Ohio have said that we do need to see consistent change in numbers for a period of 2 weeks before something can be considered a trend. So that's why we're tracking these numbers each day and why we're talking about how they've changed from day to day at this point in time. So as of right now, the total number of reported COVID-19 cases in the state of Ohio is 25,250. That's based on the expanded CDC definition that includes both positive COVID-19 cases and also probable COVID-19 cases. The number of deaths is now 1,436. The number of hospitalizations is now 4,539, and the number of people who have been in the intensive care unit related to COVID-19 is now 1,232. So now that we have those numbers, let's go ahead and break that down and show you how those have been comparing from day to day. So today, we now see 473 new cases of COVID-19 here in the state of Ohio reported. That's down from Monday. Monday, we saw 696 new cases, but the number on Monday was up from Sunday. So the numbers in terms of new cases over the past several days are really still all over the place. We saw a little bit of a decrease over the weekend until we saw cases pop back up on Monday. So that stopped what would have been a couple of days of repeated less cases. In terms of new deaths, we now have 79 new deaths today, which is one of the higher numbers that we've seen in terms of a 24-hour period jump in deaths. On Monday, we saw 16 new deaths. So for today, there to be 79 new deaths, that's definitely a significant jump. The largest 24-hour increase we've seen in new deaths related to COVID-19 here in Ohio was 2 weeks ago, and that was 138 new deaths. Last week, we saw 2 days where there were both 90 and 78 new deaths. So this marks the third largest single day increase in new deaths in COVID-19 related to since we've known the virus was here and since we've been tracking the deaths related to COVID-19 here in Ohio. In terms of the number of hospitalizations, there are now 126 new hospitalizations reported. That is more than double the new hospitalizations that were reported yesterday. Yesterday, there were 62 new hospitalizations related to COVID-19 reported. And today there are 15 new cases in the intensive care unit, which is also up just slightly from yesterday when we saw 12 new cases in the intensive care unit. Now, as we learn more about COVID-19 and when it struck in Ohio and how it's been impacting us here, antibody testing shows that COVID-19 has actually been in Ohio since at least January. Ohio Department of Health Director Dr. Amy Acton confirmed that at yesterday's press briefing that there were at least 5 cases of COVID-19 present in Ohio in January. Now, before learning this information, we had thought the earliest onset date for COVID-19 in Ohio was the beginning of February. So according to Dr. Acton, the state is now working to confirm whether the earliest cases of the virus were associated with travel outside of Ohio or whether those cases likely were contracted from other people who were already in the state of Ohio. The new onset date for the virus could provide additional details as well as to how widespread and prevalent COVID-19 has been in Ohio, which the first confirmed positive case we did not become aware of until March 9th. That's when we had the first positive case here in the state of Ohio. Big news here for the state of Ohio. Ohio Representative Marcia Fudge says the USDA has approved a pretty significant EBT proposal. Fudge tweeted this: Ohio will now be able to provide an EBT card with the value of missed school meals to families with children who have lost access to free and reduced price meals due to school closures. She tweeted this and said that it's part of Ohio's pandemic EBT proposal, which has been approved by the USDA. Fudge also tweeted, with schools in Ohio closed through the end of the school year, this will provide schools with another tool to fight hunger during this difficult time. So this will definitely be a much needed benefit to families who are missing out on the opportunity to get those school provided meals for their children. This will provide assistance to those families who desperately need it at that time. In terms of how companies are being impacted by COVID-19, Steak and Shake's parent company has decided that it will permanently close over 50 locations. Steak and Shake's parent company is called Biglari Holdings, and they announced in their first quarter report that Steak and Shake's revenue has dropped $59 million compared to the same time last year because of a decrease in demand. The report said that it was the COVID-19 pandemic that had an adverse effect on their restaurant operations, and that the decision was made based on the expected continued impact of COVID-19 on the future operating performance of the company-operated restaurants. So this doesn't necessarily mean that the Steak and Shake in your area will be closing, but it does mean some changes for potentially that location. Biglari Holdings has said that Steak and Shake will now transition those company-operated restaurants to franchise partners, saying that the franchise agreement stipulates the franchise make an upfront investment totaling $10,000. So if a franchisee wants to take over one of those Biglari Holdings operated Steak and Shakes, that will be possible. So we'll remain to see exactly what will happen with the Steak and Shakes in the Northeast Ohio area. I know there's one in my hometown of Canton. I'm not sure whether that's a company-owned or a franchised-owned location at this time, but we do certainly have many Steak and Shake locations here in the state of Ohio, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. Here's some information if you're interested in potentially a new job that will be likely highly in demand. Johns Hopkins University is offering free online courses if you'd like to be a COVID-19 contact tracer. Experts say that more than 100,000 contact tracers could be needed across the country to help limit the spread of COVID-19 as states begin to reopen and the country works to safely reopen the economy. So the course is 5 hours long. Enrollment started on Monday, and it's online instruction for anyone who wants to learn the basics of contact tracing. So this is the process of limiting the spread of COVID-19 by locating and isolating people who have potentially been infected. You find the people who are confirmed to be infected, and then you trace back their contacts to see who could have possibly also been infected. So according to the Centers for Disease Control, contact tracing is a specialized skill. To be done effectively, it requires people with the training, supervision, and access to social and medical support for patients and contacts. This class is taught by Associate Scientist Emily Gurley. It's 100% online, and it does have flexible deadlines. So as of Tuesday morning, 8,200 people had already enrolled, and the free enrollment period extends from now to December 31st, 2020. Job qualifications for this role across the country do vary, but some new positions are open to individuals with a high school diploma or the equivalent, and we do have more information on that on WKYC.com and our WKYC app if you think that training is something you might be interested in. Bringing it back to Northeast Ohio, new Browns coach Kevin Stefanski has settled on the west side for his new home. Of course, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Stefanski and his family had to stay in Minnesota for a lot longer than they had planned to after the former Vikings coach became the new head coach of the Browns in January. But last week, Stefanski and his family finally made their move to Cleveland, and the 38-year-old head coach talked about that on ESPN's SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt last night. Here's what Stefanski said. "If I could turn this phone around, you'd see boxes everywhere. We did an 11-hour drive on Friday night. The license plate game is hard right now because there's not a lot of cars on the road, but the kids were pretty good. Thank God for the iPads, and now happy to be in Cleveland." And Stefanski, we are certainly happy to have you here in Cleveland. Very excited about what the future holds there. So in addition to the move with his family, Stefanski also talked about the state of the Browns, who have now had 3 full-time head coaches in the past 3 years, but that's not really something that we're not used to. Stefanski might not be used to that, but that's kind of par for the course here. We're hoping maybe this changes things. We're optimistic about it. So in regards to the new season upcoming, Stefanski said, "Our guys are doing a nice job. We are teaching and implementing a new offensive system, a new defensive system." So we very much look forward to seeing what Stefanski brings to the field. Hopefully, the start of that season is not interrupted, but what we've seen with other major sports, We definitely don't know what that will look like at this point, but the NFL is moving forward with things set to kick off in September as previously planned at this time. Here is something also very exciting for Cleveland native chef Michael Symons. Food Network will be launching a self-shot show for him. It'll be called Symons Dinners Cooking Out, and this is after the online series that he's been putting out has passed over 30 million views. So this will be a 6-episode outdoor cooking series, and it'll premiere with 3 episodes on Food Network and 3 episodes on the Food Network Kitchen app. Food Network President Courtney White is very excited about the new show, saying this: Michael Symons is a unique talent, a skilled chef with a passion. The fan reaction was tremendous, and we knew we wanted to deliver more of what the audience so clearly wanted and needed. Almost daily during the COVID-19 pandemic so far, Symons has been treating his fans to live cooking classes from home on the Food Network Kitchen's Facebook page while in quarantine. So the episodes take place at 5 p.m. each night, and Symons shares his family recipes. The episodes up to now have been shot with the help of his wife Liz, social media manager Liv, and frequent appearances by the puppy Norman, which we always love to see. Very excited to tune into this and see what more is to come from Michael Symons as they foray into this new way of creating content while we are all staying safe at home. Remember, here in Ohio, the Stay Safe Ohio order that includes an order for people to stay at home if possible, is still in effect until May 29th. So we are still operating under those rules and parameters right now. So Governor Mike DeWine's press conference is in process right now. You can see that on 3 News, also on WKYC.com and our WKYC app, as well as on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Next up, I will see you on What's New at 5 p.m. That's on 3 News, also on our YouTube page. After that, we have more coverage for you on What Matters Most at 6 p.m. and on Front Row at 7 p.m. and also on What's Next at 11 p.m. And I will see you back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Everyone have a great rest of your afternoon. I'll see you at 5 and I'll see you back here tomorrow. I'm Stephanie Haney.